Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a SuperFlex mock draft. Inside of this video, I'm going to be talking a lot about my strategy when it comes to attacking a SuperFlex or a two-quarterback draft. Now, what SuperFlex is, if you don't know already or if you've never played in it, a SuperFlex league is where one of the flexes on your team could be a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, or a tight end. A normal flex is typically either running back or wide receiver, or running back, wide receiver, or tight end. So what this basically means is that you're going to have to be starting two quarterbacks every single week because the positional advantage is just so strong over a running back, wide receiver, or a tight end. So you're going to want to go ahead and draft a bunch of quarterbacks in this draft, and the quarterbacks are going to come early and often because of that positional advantage. So you just have to be ready to be seeing the draft look completely different to your normal one quarterback league. The strategy is so different because in the first round, 6 quarterbacks could go in the first round, whereas normally no quarterbacks go in the first round or just one. So this is definitely going to be a very different look at it. The strategy is the same as in a 2 quarterback draft because in a super flex league, you want to start a quarterback in that spot every single time. So at least in my opinion, it is the same exact strategy. You also want to be looking to get at least 3 quarterbacks, if not even 4 on your roster. If you guys do end up enjoying this SuperFlex mock draft and you want more fantasy football content, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below because not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 fantasy football league. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to begin this draft in the 4th overall slot in a normal league. I've talked about this before. I like drafting at like the 10th, the 11th, the 12th spot at the end of the draft, but in a SuperFlex league, I like being near the front so I can go ahead and snag a quarterback very early that I am confident in. Now, a quarterback's not always going to be the first pick of the draft, even if the advantage is so strong, technically because of the fact that Christian McCaffrey is just so safe. You draft Christian McCaffrey, you close your eyes, he scores 1,000,000 points every single week. So I think that Christian McCaffrey is a perfectly fine 101 pick. But personally, if I was the number 1 overall pick, I would have went with Mahomes. After Mahomes came Josh Allen, and now we are up on the board. So we are faced with the decision if we want to go with Dalvin Cook or if we want to go ahead and go quarterback. And personally, I'm going to lean to go quarterback at this spot. I am very happy getting Kyler Murray onto my team and then maybe looking to draft a running back or a wide receiver in the 2nd round unless I like the value at quarterback and I can go ahead and attack that position. Now, what happens in super flex leagues, 2 quarterback leagues, is the running backs are going to fall, whereas typically in a normal league where you just have 1 quarterback, the running backs are snatched up super quick. But since there's a lot of quarterbacks going, there is some falling value at the running back position. So hopefully we can find a nice running back in the 2nd or the 3rd round here, and we're going to go ahead and get Kyler Murray. I like Kyler Murray a lot. Obviously, he does a lot with his legs, which is very beneficial for fantasy football. It's pretty hard for those typical old pocket passers, the statue quarterbacks, to score a lot of points in fantasy football and be like a top 5 guy, whereas a guy that is super mobile, who is able to score points with his legs, that is very, very solid for fantasy football. And the fact that the Arizona Cardinals have a very solid offensive core around Kyler Murray, I feel very safe taking him here at the 104. After Kyler Murray comes Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, and Justin Herbert to close out the 1st round. So that's 6 quarterbacks out of 12 total players in the 1st round, 6 running backs and 6 quarterbacks in the 1st round, which is so different, like I said, to what we normally see. The 2nd round, a lot more tame here, a bunch of running backs and wide receivers, and Travis Kelce. So we get Nick Chubb, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce, Aaron Jones, Ezekiel Elliott, Cam Akers, and Najee Harris. Now, the reason why some people go without drafting a quarterback early is they might want to go ahead and stack like 3 quarterbacks in a row in like the 5, 6, 7 range. They may go ahead and try to do something like that, which to me is a little bit crazy. You're really hoping for upside there, which is a solid strategy, but I prefer to get at least 1 quarterback very early in the draft I feel confident. So now we're back up on the board here, and to me, it's a no-brainer to go with Austin Eckler at this pick. This is great value inside the back of the 2nd round, especially since this is realistically, when you're on the website, you just click a 2 quarterback draft so that it puts the quarterbacks earlier on in the draft. But this is a half PPR, full PPR league, anything like that. Austin Eckler is just so valuable. The amount of receptions that this guy can get can rival a guy like Christian McCaffrey, can rival a guy like Alvin Kamara. When he was healthy last season, he was very dominant with Justin Herbert. So I think we should see that Austin Eckler that we were seeing a lot of in 2019, much more so in 2021. And even last year when he was healthy, like I said, he was still very solid. So we're going to go with Austin Eckler here at the 209. After Austin Eckler came Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, Russell Wilson, George Kittle, and Darren Waller, followed by Justin Jefferson. So 3 tight ends going in the 2-3 range is pretty normal at this point. Travis Kelce in a SuperFlex league probably won't go in the first round, but in normal 1-quarterback leagues, he will, depending on the league, though, because in a lot of mock drafts I've been doing on Yahoo, he falls into the second round, but the best ball drafts I've been doing, he's been a first-round pick every time, so it's definitely pretty different depending on leagues, but Travis Kelce is never making it outside of the second round. Kittle and Waller inside of the third round, so now we are back up on the board, and the question is, do we want to reach on a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, or am I comfortable waiting into the fourth round? I think we're going to take the gamble of waiting until the fourth round, because right now we have no fucking idea what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. Is Aaron Rodgers going to go do Jeopardy? Is he going to be the Broncos quarterback? Is he going to be the Green Bay Packers quarterback? Is he going to be a quarterback of a team we didn't even think he could go to? Or is he not going to play quarterback in the NFL? He's going to fucking put the cleats over... what are those called? The telephone wires. You ever see that? People do that. They throw the shoes on telephone wire. He throws the cleats up there. He's done. He's walking away from the game. So I'm not very confident in Rodgers here. So I will end up going running back. There is very solid value at the wide receiver position here at this spot. A guy like A.J. Brown, Calvin Ridley, you should be salivating at your mouth to get them in the third round. But I'm doing the exact same thing there with Antonio Gibson, running back of the Washington football team. I am so confident of the skill set that this guy possesses. Going in to last offseason, when after they drafted Antonio Gibson, they had Antonio Gibson practicing in the wide receiver room, in the running back room. This guy is just so talented at doing what it takes to be a good fantasy football running back, meaning he's great at catching the ball, he's great at running the ball as well. The Washington football team has a very solid defense, so if the quarterback play of Ryan Fitzpatrick is pretty solid, they're going to be running a lot later in games with that strong defense, and that's going to bode quite well for Antonio Gibson. After Gibson came DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown, Aaron Rodgers, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, and David Montgomery to close out of the third round. Aaron Rodgers going at the 3-7. I do 100% understand taking him, but understand right now, if you're going to draft him, there is a whole lot of fucking risk inside of the third round. After David Montgomery came Josh Jacobs, Keenan Allen, Calvin Ridley in the fourth round. Chef's kiss. That's a beautiful pick. Michael Thomas, Jalen Hurts, Kyle Pitts, Chris Carson, and Allen Robinson. That is very early for Kyle Pitts. Extremely early for Kyle Pitts. Now, I think Kyle Pitts is a great tight end. I think there's a reason why the Falcons drafted him so high in the 2021 NFL draft, but rookie tight ends typically don't have the greatest of seasons. Typically, it takes till their sophomore year, even these great prospects, and they break out. But again, like I say in all these videos where I talk about Kyle Pitts, this guy's a freak of fucking nature. He is the best tight end prospect to ever come out of college, so maybe the fact that he's just that good means he'll have an excellent rookie season, but I think he will have a great rookie season, but I would be very worried to take him as the tight end 4 off the board. I'm glad we have our running backs now because they've been coming off the board here in the fourth round. I would not be very happy taking a guy like Miles Sanders, so I'm good at running back now. The wide receivers are still pretty solid. Looking at quarterbacks, I am pretty confident here in taking Joe Burrow at the 409. I like Joe Burrow a whole lot. I actually made a video where I focused in on him a lot a couple of days ago. He's on the thumbnail. I don't remember what the video was called, but the reason why I like Joe Burrow, and I talked about it in that video, was because of the fact that the defense sucks so bad that they're going to have to be throwing the ball late in games, and they obviously brought in his college wide receiver number 1 in Jamar Chase. So just imagine how good Joe Burrow can be with this loaded wide receiver core. Tyler Boyd, they also have T. Higgins, obviously, and now they have Jamar Chase and hopefully a healthy Joe Mixon. I think this Bengals offense is going to be great, and the fact that their defense is so bad is a nice cherry on top because they're going to have to be throwing their way out of games, and Joe Burrow is going to be able to do that. He was looking pretty solid last year, obviously, before he ended up getting hurt. A huge issue, though, with Joe Burrow is the fact that they watched the guy tear his ACL last year, and then for some reason they still drafted him wide receiver. A little crazy in my book, but it is what it is. After I went with Joe Burrow, Miles Sanders came out the board, followed by Chris Godwin, Terry McLaurin, Mike Evans, CeeDee Lamb, and Amari Cooper. So we're back up on the board here. Nice wide receiver run of 5 wide receivers. 2 guys that I'm really looking to avoid in that range are Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Now, I don't think either of them are going to be necessarily bad, but with Antonio Brown hopefully playing, or the thought is that he'll play a 17-game season, then with how much Brady spreads the ball out, I'm worried. I think that Evans and Godwin should still be top 18 wide receivers. It's just I feel like every week it might end up being, one week you'll have the big Antonio Brown game, there'll be a big Evans game. It's just very confusing to me and not something I'm super in love with drafting. In best ball, obviously, you don't give a fuck because they're just going to be scoring a million points every couple of games because Tom Brady's so good, that offense is so good, but I am a little bit worried about those wide receivers, especially with the price you have to pay to acquire them. So looking here at what we have, we got Kyler Murray, Austin Eckler, Antonio Gibson, and Joe Burrow. I am very confident in drafting Julio Jones at this spot. It is a very safe pick if you're looking to hunt some more upside. Maybe go with DJ Moore. You're hoping that mono man Sam Darnold is able to finally figure it out after he sucked ass for years in a New York Football Jets uniform. So maybe you take that hope, and DJ Chark's obviously an excellent wide receiver. So I think that's a fine pick, but Julio Jones to me definitely has top 10 potential. He's been a top 10, top 12 fantasy football wide receiver basically his whole career, even back in the days when Roddy White was still there. I love Julio here in Tennessee. I think that Ryan Tannehill is an excellent quarterback, and I think that this team is going to be scoring a whole bunch of points with how high-powered this offense is. After I'm with Julio Jones comes Mr. Trevor Lawrence, followed by Julio Jones quarterback Ryan Tannehill, DJ Moore, Mark Andrews, Matthew Stafford, Kareem Hunt, TJ Hawkinson, and Adam Thielen to close out the 5th round. The 6th round begins with Cooper Kupp, followed by Jamar Chase, Kenny Golladay, Mike Davis, Travis Etienne, James Robinson, Tyler Lockett in my pocket skirt, and Brandon Ayuk. We are about 10, 11 minutes in this video, so if you guys have ended up enjoying thus far, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below, and make sure to hit that like button down below as well. It really helps boost my video up the algorithm so that more people like yourself can watch these videos. So at the 6.9, very nice, we are up on the board, and here we could really go running back or wide receiver. I don't think you have to take 3 quarterbacks this early, obviously. A lot of people don't even have 2 quarterbacks yet. No one has 2 quarterbacks yet besides myself. So I'm relatively confident in waiting to get that 3rd guy a little bit later. And understand also, in these kind of leagues, the trades for a quarterback, to acquire a quarterback, are very high, whereas the price you have to pay for a guy like Brady may be pretty cheap in like the 6th, 7th round, but the amount that you can get for him if someone's quarterback was to go down would be very, very high. That's also one of the benefits of drafting a lot of quarterbacks in these drafts. So we're back up on the board here at the 609. The running backs I'm pretty worried about in this range besides Myles Gaskin, and that's kind of my thought process as to why I might want to draft him here. At wide receiver, I like Robert Woods. I like Deontay Johnson, but I also feel like there's a big fall off at this position after Robert Woods, who I ranked as a top 12 wide receiver, so I'm just going to have to take Mr. Bobby Trees here at this pick with Matthew Stafford there now under center. I think that Robert Woods' ceiling is much higher. Robert Woods was an amazing wide receiver last year for the LA Rams, and I believe that he'll be able to repeat that season with a better quarterback in Matthew Stafford in 2021. That's kind of my thought process as to why I believe he could be a top 12 wide receiver, is just how good Matthew Stafford is compared to Jared Goff. After Bobby Trees was Deontay Johnson, Javonte Williams, Myles Gaskin, T. Higgins, Devontae Smith, and Noah Fant. So looking back, we obviously weren't able to get Myles Gaskin, but that probably could have been seen from a mile away because people are bound to start taking running backs. This guy only has 1 running back. This guy only has 2, so it would make sense, or he only had 1 before he made that pick, so it would make sense for one of those guys to end up going with a running back. So we're back up on the board here. We still do not have a tight end, but I'm fine waiting. I'm fine waiting longer for a guy like maybe Irv Smith later, even a Logan Thomas. So I'm fine waiting at least 1 more round before I pull the trigger. So we're going to look running back or wide receiver at this spot. I think after Chase Edmonds, there's definitely a strong fall off at the running back position here because I feel as though Chase Edmonds is the starter. Would I be surprised if James Conner ended up stealing the starting job from him? No, because it seems like Cliff Kingsbury has never really dealt the keys to Chase Edmonds, the keys to success. He hasn't really given him the key to the city where he's the running back one, right? Even with Kenyon Drake getting hurt, he's not really fully committing to Chase Edmonds. Obviously, Kenyon Drake is gone now, but they bring in James Conner, which tells me that they don't 100% believe in Chase Edmonds again. I think that the value is right here in the 7th round, but a lot of my previous thoughts about Chase Edmonds have really changed. I am slightly more worried, or a lot more worried about him than I was a couple of months ago, but I'm still willing to draft him here in the 7th round as my running back 3 behind Austin Eckler and Antonio Gibson. After Chase Edmonds came out the board, Cortland Sutton, Chase Claypool, Jalen Waddle, Odell Beckham Jr., Rojo, Dallas Goedert, Juju Smith-Schuster, Melvin Gordon to close out the 7th round. The 8th round begins with Baby Chark, Baby Chark, Raheem Mostert, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Cooks, Jerry Jeudy, Robbie Anderson, Will Fuller, and Mike Gesicki. Will Fuller is a real interesting 8th round pick. Obviously, he is suspended for the PEDs, so he is going to be missing the first game of the season, but it's going to be very interesting to see which of these wide receivers really develop with Tua Tagovailoa in his second year as the Dolphins quarterback. Obviously, coming into the league, the guy had that hip surgery. He wasn't really getting too much practice. He starts the season off on the bench, and he plays not too great. He has some flashy games, some games where he doesn't look that good, but I do believe that he is going to be a really big breakout this season and going to play quite well. So I'm very, very sure that one of these wide receivers is going to end up being very good. It's just the question of which one will it be. I'm probably going to rule out Devontae Parker out of that assumption, but I do think it could be Jalen Waddle or it could be Will Fuller, who really help you win your fantasy league in the 7th or the 8th round of draft. So I'm happy we got Chase Edmonds, because here it's a real shit show besides Damian Harris. Damian Harris falling this far is an absolute steal, but I am going to go with a wide receiver here. I don't love Laviska Shenault, but it's kind of a similar argument to with the Dolphins. One of these guys is going to be the Jags wide receiver one with Trevor Lawrence. It's going to be either DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault, or Marvin Jones Jr. So you can take any of them throughout the draft. Obviously, Chark's the highest price you have to pay. Marvin Jones, the lowest price you pay. Laviska Shenault's right here in the middle, so I will take him because I haven't drafted him yet, and I don't think I've really talked about him at all in videos because he's just not a super sexy pick to me. He is a very talented football player, has a lot of rushing upside as well, but I'm just not too sure he will end up being the number 1 target in the Trevor Lawrence-led Jacksonville Jaguars offense. After Laviska Shenault came Leonard Fournette, Trey Sermon, David Johnson, Michael Carter, Damian Harris, Curtis Samuel, so we waited on one of those running backs. I was thinking, maybe Michael Carter will be there in the next round, maybe Damian Harris, and the draft basically told me to go fuck myself, so we're not going to be touching the running back position for a while here because a lot of these guys are just such dart throws. I will go with a tight end here that I haven't drafted much either, and I think this guy is a very big risk, but it could pay off pretty well, and that's going to be Logan Thomas. Same thing with Robert Tonyan, though. Logan Thomas was a converted from quarterback to tight end in the NFL, and I never heard of him until last year, and he had such a good season. But would you be surprised if at the end of this year, Logan Thomas sucks, and you're like, why did I not see that coming? Like, that's my thoughts about it. It's like, I could definitely see a scenario where Logan Thomas gets lost with Ryan Fitz. Now, Fitzpatrick likes throwing in the tight end, so that is a narrative that's plus for him, but where he just gets lost in his offense, he's not playing as well, he's not scoring as many touchdowns. Same thing with Robert Tonyan. That guy scored so many touchdowns last year, and then things go wrong for either of those guys. That's why I think it's pretty interesting to talk about either of them. Let's see Logan Thomas's stats from last year. Do they have it on the screen here? They do. He was number 3 tight end in PPR last season, so he was very, very good. He's falling back. Now, obviously, as like a, not even like a top 5 tight end. Obviously, he's like a top 8, top 10 tight end, but I'm still pretty confident in drafting him here and taking that upside shot on Logan Thomas. But again, don't be surprised if he's like Gary Barnidge, who had one great NFL year and then just completely sucked dick the rest of his NFL career. So that would not surprise me at all, but I am pretty confident here in getting Logan Thomas at the 9.4. After Logan Thomas comes a run on the quarterback position. Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, Baker Mayfield, Justin Fields, Carson Wentz. You like that? Kirk Cousins, Deshaun Watson, and Zach Wilson. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 quarterbacks in a row, followed by Tyler Boyd, Robert Tonyan, Irv Smith, Hollywood Brown, Jarvis Landry, Kenyon Drake, Michael Pittman, and James Conner. So I'm pretty happy that I drafted Logan Thomas there, because both Irv and Tonyan ended up coming off the board, so maybe Thomas would have gotten taken in that brigade as well. So the quarterbacks, they're starting to thin. They're starting to get a little bit thin. I don't know why there's a huge fucking gap here. I don't know what that is. But, like, is Sam Darnold missing? Where's Sam? Is he, like, in this? Jeez, okay, so we're going to go quarterback here. I'm going to secure my third quarterback in a guy that I am pretty confident in. I talked about how I think he's going to have a breakout season in 2021. That's the quarterback of my Miami Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa. They got rid of Chan Gailey, that dude who handcuffed Tua Tagovailoa down to not let him spread his wings and fly like a fucking eagle. He is going to do that in 2021. I believe that with this two offensive coordinator system, with a second year in the NFL, with no injuries coming into the season, with better wide receiver weapons, obviously with Will Fuller now there, as well as Jalen Waddle, I think the fucking moon is the ceiling. He's going to the moon. Tua Tagovailoa, potential top 12 quarterback. Don't be surprised. Also very sneaky at running the ball, which a lot of people don't talk about with Tua, which is a huge upside when you're talking about drafting him. So after Tua came out the board, came Trey Lance, Danny Dimes, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Mike Williams, Rob Gronkowski, and Zach Moss. So pretty glad I grabbed Tua there 2 times, that I picked the right position there before I ended up picking. So we're back up on the board here, and we're probably going to start hammering running backs and wide receivers at this point. I like Gus Edwards a lot, and I think I'm willing to pay an 11th round price tag for him in this draft, even though, see, I really like Antonio Brown, but I'm not going to pick him here. I'm going to go with Gus Edwards. I'm going to stick with my guns. The Baltimore Ravens are one of the most run-heavy teams inside of the NFL, and the thing is that, sure, J.K. Dobbins is the running back one, and I believe heavily in J.K. Dobbins, but if Dobbins was to go down, Edwards would be instantly in the top 12 weekly rankings discussion. Like, sure, he might not be in the top 12. He might be like number 15, number 16, but you would still be like, hey, maybe Edwards can do that because of how much the Baltimore Ravens run the ball. So that's kind of my thought process on that one. And then even with J.K. Dobbins staying healthy, which we hope for, obviously, knock on wood, we hope that J.K. Dobbins can stay healthy, that Gus Edwards will still be getting enough touches because J.K. Dobbins can't be on the field the whole fucking game. And Gus Edwards is a pretty talented pass-catching running back as well. He's probably not going to see 7,000 targets because J.K. Dobbins is pretty good at that as well, but that's just another reason to have an argument to why Gus Edwards will be on the field for the Baltimore Ravens. After Gus Edwards came Hunter Henry, A.J. Dillon, Antonio Brown, Devin Singletary, Corey Davis, Darnell, here comes the money. Money, 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 money. Michael Gallup, Rashad Bateman, Tyler Higbee, Devontae Parker, T.Y. Hilton, Tony Pollard, Evan Ingram, Adam Troutman, Janu Smith, and Naheem Hines. Now, typically I'm not a person to draft 2 tight ends. I'm definitely not going to be in this draft at this point. These guys are just such dart throws. Zach Ertz was supposed to get traded. I don't know if it'll show here. Yeah, still on the trade block. He was supposed to get traded to the Bills like 5 days ago, and it never ended up happening, so I have no idea what's going on with Zach Ertz. He'd be a pretty solid 12th round pick, but he still hasn't even been traded, so what do I know? So we're back up here on the board. I'm going to go with a wide receiver here because I think that this is a very good pick, or a very good time to pick Russell Gage. Now, a lot of people seem to be against Russell Gage for some reason. He's very clearly the wide receiver 2 on the Atlanta Falcons team with the exit of Julio Jones. Russell Gage has shown off talent in the past. He was a guy that got a whole lot of targets last year, especially when Julio Jones was gone. He seemed to fill that role pretty well, and I don't really see any other wide receiver stepping up to steal the wide receiver 2 role from Russell Gage. And if the Atlanta Falcons are as pass-heavy of a team as they seem like they are every single year, which they will be because the defense isn't very good, that means that Russell Gage should have a pretty solid opportunity to get a lot of targets this season and put up some big points and potentially finish as a top 24 wide receiver in fantasy football. I like Russell Gage a lot here in the 12th round. After Russell Gage comes Henry Ruggs, Marvin Jones, Elijah Moore, Cole Kmet, Rondell Moore, and J.D. McKissick. Marvin Jones was definitely in my thought process for that pick in Russell Gage. It's who I was going to pick instantly, if I'm being honest with you, but then I realized I took Laviska Shenault, and I guess now, hey, you took 2/3 of the shot on the guy that ends up being the wide receiver 1, but then what if it ends up being DJ Moore, and now I just threw 2 picks down the fucking river, so I'm pretty happy here just going and snagging Mr. Russell Gage. Henry Ruggs is a pick that a lot of people are going to try to talk themselves into. He got drafted so highly in last draft, right, in the real NFL draft last year. He's the first wide receiver off the board. People talk him up. He's fast as fuck, Lightning McQueen speed off the line, Tyreek Hill 2.0. That's what they're saying about him. They're getting down on their knees. They're fucking sucking this guy's hog like they're Mia Malkova, and then at the end of the day, he doesn't end up doing anything. And I believe that Henry Ruggs is a talented wide receiver, but why would I believe that he is going to see some crazy amount of targets, put up some really good numbers? I think he's going to be a guy that will have like 6 games where he just fucks up a defense. He's going to be like Hollywood Brown 2.0, where the guy just absolutely butt fucks the defense every couple of weeks. And then the other weeks, you're just sitting there like, damn, he didn't have that breakaway catch that he needs to score these points, and then he sucks. So that's kind of my thought process on Henry Ruggs. So we're back up on the board. Nelson Aguilar, wish he was still in Las Vegas. Love Mr. Nelson Aguilar. Obviously, in New England, he could actually be the wide receiver one, but do I really want to take someone in New England? Because I don't trust Cam Newton. Even though Mr. Crackerman in the comments, he loves Cam Newton. Now, with how I've drafted quarterbacks in this draft, I don't feel like I need to take a fourth quarterback, if I'm being honest with you. I'm comfortable with Kyler, Burrow, and Tua. The quarterback value here is still pretty nice, getting a guy like Sam Darnold on the team, who, while he completely sucked ass in New York, I think I talked about that a little bit earlier, and he was just so putrid. Like, the change of scenery, getting away from Adam Gase, could prove to be really good for a guy that, coming out of college, people really liked Sam Darnold. And he just hasn't shown that. But this is his final chance. I believe this is his final year to get things done. If he doesn't get it done, then the Panthers will just get rid of him and say, okay, you know, they didn't send a first-round pick for Sam Darnold. It was a second-round pick or something like that. So they shouldn't be all that worried about losing him. So hopefully he plays good. My assumption is he should be pretty solid in 2021, because once you get rid of being with Adam Gase, normally the player just ends up being amazing. So looking at our team here, we don't have a kicker or a defense, but those are the last two picks. We're good without getting another quarterback. We're probably just going to lean running back and wide receiver with these last two picks. To me, it's important to get more running backs than wide receivers, because it's so fucking easy on the waiver wire to just find some wide receiver to throw into your roster, but it's so hard to find a running back that you can just throw into your roster. So it's nice to have all these stashed running backs later that have some upside to potentially be a running back one at some point in the season. And I don't really mean like a running back one as in finish as a running back one on that week, but as in like a running back one on their team due to injury, or someone that just puts up enough numbers to where you're not pissed to put them as your running back too. Jamal Williams is my pick here. It's a no-brainer. I've talked about him so much that I feel like I shouldn't even dive super deep into it, but the talks in town in Detroit is that they don't believe in DeAndre Swift as much as maybe you would want them to. Not that they don't believe in him, but they think Jamal Williams is a nice 1B to DeAndre Swift's 1A, and just reading that myself, you cream your pants, you draft Jamal Williams later, because he could be seeing a lot of opportunity, but the counter argument, obviously, to drafting Jamal Williams is that he's on the Lions, and they're not going to be running the ball very much because they're going to be bad. So they're going to have to throw. They're going to be bad. After Jamal Williams comes Kenneth Gainwell, Jared Cook, Cole Beasley, Nelson Aguilar, Alexander Madison, Darrell Henderson, Phillip Lindsay, Amon St. Brown, followed by the 14th round with Austin Hoop God Hooper, Tariq Cohen, Chuba Hubbard, Mecole Hardman, Gabriel Davis, Jalen Reagor, Latavius Murray, and Terrence Marshall Jr. So we're back up on the board here. We're going wide receiver, and then we're going with our kicker, our defense. Apparently, a lot of talk about out of that camp that they had, the mini camp, is that Kadarius Toney is not good. He's not looking good. And that's very worrisome. I would not be looking at all to draft Kadarius Toney. I'd rather just draft a more upside pick. Brashad Perryman could be the wide receiver one of the Lions. So he's definitely worthy of a pick. John Brown, same thing with Las Vegas. Jamison Crowder, Denzel Mims could all be the wide receiver one in New York. So I'd much rather take a shot on that than draft Kadarius fucking Toney. So I'm going to go John Smokey Brown here, who should be the wide receiver one in Las Vegas. A lot of people talk shit about Derek Carr, but Derek Carr isn't that bad. So after John Brown comes Tevin Coleman, Todd Gurley, and Kadarius Toney. After that, the 15th round begins with Harrison Bucker the fucker, Justin Tucker the fucker, and my old bitch lame, but my young ho Koo. So we're going to go with our kicker at this spot. I'm going to go with Rodrigo. You sunk my Blankenship. And then I'm going to explain to you how to draft a defense in fantasy football. What I do is I'm looking not to draft the best defense technically available, right? I'm not looking to get the whoever you would say the best defense is. Definitely not the Jets. Probably like the Rams or the Patriots or the Steelers or the Dolphins or one of those teams that you think might be the best defense in the NFL. I'm just looking to draft the defense, playing a bad opponent week one that I believe that the defense is going to be able to play quite well against them. And then week two, you dribble them around, you throw them out of your fucking team, you cut them, you add a new defense. I make videos every single week about which defenses to start. So I just completely eliminate the process of you having to go ahead and do that research yourself. I'll just do it for you. I'll talk about it every single week. That's just another reason for you to hit that subscribe button. There will be a video before you're drafting as well about which defenses to draft because I haven't done a super deep dive. So I'll just take the best defense available and call it a day for this video. So we're going to go ahead and recap our roster. I'll move myself all the way over here so you guys can see the roster a little bit better. We got Kyler Murray, Austin Eckler, Antonio Gibson are my 2 starting running backs. My 2 starting wideouts are Julio Jones and Robert Woods. My tight end is Logan Thomas. My normal flex is Chase Edmonds. My super flex is Joe Burrow. The kicker and defense don't really matter. My bench is comprised of Laviska Shenault, Tua Tagovailoa, Gus Edwards, Russell Gage, Jamal Williams, and John Brown. This is an absolutely star-studded roster. I don't even know how this team ended up this good. Chef's kiss. It's beautiful. Thank you guys all for watching. More Superflex mocks in the future. Tomorrow's video will not be a mock draft. I know we had 2 mock drafts in a row, but last night I was pretty. I drank a little too much, so when I woke up this morning, I did a lot of research for a video, but it wasn't complete, and I figured I could just talk about a mock draft, just talk out of my ass, start talking, have a fun time, and it's a lot less stressful on the brain because I do kind of have a headache because I drank a little too much. So I hope you guys had a great 4th of July. I hope you guys stayed safe. And I love you guys. Make sure you have a great rest of your guys' day. Happy Monday. I'll see you beautiful bastards in the morning. Happy Monday. See you guys on Tuesday. Good boy.